The types of taxes, I already mentioned here that taxes you are liable to, once you register a limited liability company in Nigeria, you are liable to pay direct and indirect taxes. What are the direct taxes that we have in Nigeria? Now, we need to know that each of these taxes, which are direct taxes, they are taxes borne indirectly. They are taxes borne directly, by the taxpayer's income. That is the income that goes to the person that is paying the tax. He is the one that pays this tax directly. And these are some of the taxes that are direct taxes for SMEs in particular. Now, I'm concentrating on SMEs. You have companies income tax, you have education tax, you have withholding tax, the payee, you have petroleum profit tax, which, yes, it relates because there are some limited liability companies that actually are focused on oil and gas. So this is their own tax. You have capital gains tax. These are direct taxes on the taxpayer's income. Also, we have indirect taxes. These taxes are imposed directly, but are not borne by the taxpayer's income. It is not on your direct income. Consequently, these ones are upon the consumption of particular products or services enjoyed by the taxpayer. And these include value-added taxes, excise duties, stamp duties, custom duties, mining fees, and royalties. You will note that I just listed all these taxes. There are various guidelines and acts, regulations that follow and rule each one of these taxes. We'll not be able to go into details of each of these ones. I'm just going to give us an overview, because for each of these ones could even take us a whole day to understand what each of these taxes actually mean, or what are the requirements for each of these taxes. Now, like I said, there are two types of businesses in Nigeria: the limited liability companies and the registered business names. Now, the registered business name is the name your business operates under Nigeria, in Nigeria, just as it says. It helps you to conduct business in Nigeria, and you must register at minimum a business name to do business in Nigeria. Most taxes that are applicable to limited liability companies are also applicable to this kind of company. But the only difference is that they do not file company income taxes because they are not registered as a company. It's just registered as a business name to carry out business in Nigeria. However, these are some of the taxes that are affecting SMEs in Nigeria. Like I said, we have company income taxes. This relates to businesses that are registered as limited liability companies. And this has a tax rate of 30% of your taxable profit. Like I said, it has a lot of intricacies and things involved in calculating this taxable profit. It's not something we will be able to do in this session. Maybe another session will give us that. But just know that there are ways by which accountants or tax consultants try to calculate your taxable profit. And in calculating your taxable profit, they try to compare your allowances, so many allowances that you have, that would actually help you to claim some relief on your tax for you to be able to agree on your taxable income. So it is on that taxable income that 30% would now be calculated as your company income tax. Please remember that if you are doing registered business name, this tax does not apply to you. Recently, SMEs that have lower than 25 million turnover have been exempted from this tax. We have a financial act which was enacted in 2019 and amended in 2020 that actually supports this, that SMEs with lower than 25 million naira turnover are exempted from companies' income tax. Educational tax is also related to company income tax, and this one is 2% of your assessable profit in any particular year. Withholding tax relates to each company, whether it is the limited liability company or the registered business name. Withholding tax is the tax that is deducted when you are paying for a service that you enjoy from a vendor, from somebody. You withholding tax, just like it says, you withhold a certain portion of that person's payment, which you will now remit on behalf of that person to the applicable taxing authority, which could be the Federal Inland Revenue or your state inland revenue service. This is an advance payment of tax. And also, when you do some jobs for other people, they also withhold this amount from your services. And later on, when you are filing your company income tax, you can now use this as a relief because you have already paid some tax before. So you can use it as a relief, which is deductible from your tax returns, your annual tax returns. It is deductible from your CIT. We also have pay as you earn. This is deductible from your employees. It is graduated in various rates, and the minimum is 5%, the maximum is 25%. You see, like I said, all these taxes have their ways of computation and their ways by which you break them down, and you'll be able to arrive at a very, very conducive and favorable values for your client. So it's not something we can go in depth now, just give us an overall of all this. Then the capital gains tax, this is tax on when you sell an asset. You need to pay a 10% on that capital that you gain to the FIRS. Value added tax, like we all know, is tax on goods and services, and it is 7.5% of the value. Now, I want to pay specific reference to the Finance Act of 2019, which was amended in 2020. Some pronouncements were made in relation to SMEs. It says companies who have less than 25 million annual turnover are no longer required to pay taxes. The following exemptions apply. If you have a company that has less than 25 million annual turnover in any year, this now applies to those companies. They are not liable for VAT registration, for VAT collection, for VAT remittance, and also for filing of VAT. They are not liable. But it now depends on that company. If you feel that you still want to do it, because the thing is that there are some organizations that will not do business with you if you do not have your VAT registration or your what we call your TIN registration. That's your tax identification number. And for you to get your tax identification number, you need to register for VAT, you need to register for CIT. But as it is, under the VAT Act now, it is not compulsory for companies who have less than 25 million to either file VAT or to even file their CIT. So there is an exemption for you if you have less than 25 million turnover in any particular year. But let me sound a note of warning too here. That for you to be able to claim this, you need to file your VAT returns annually before the deadline. Now, what do I mean by filing your VAT return, VAT CIT return? You need to file your annual tax returns every year. And this is done on or before the 30th of June of the successive year. For example, we're in 2021. You must have filed your tax returns for up to December 2020 as at 30th of June 2021. So that means for you to be able to claim this relief of not paying CIT or being liable to file your VAT returns, you must actually file your CIT annual tax returns every year. Also, there is no tax education payable for this kind of companies. Registration for tax identification number is compulsory once a company commences business. This is particularly in relation to companies that are limited liability companies, LLC. You have to make sure that you have your tax identification number, and for you to have that, you have to be registered with the FIRS that is in your location. You look for the FIRS that is in your location and you file your annual tax returns with them. But for you to be able to do that, you need to register for tax identification number first of all. Now, companies may decide to register to collect and remit back. That we're still talking about companies that have less than 25 million annual tax, annual turnover. Whether you're a registered business name or a company with less than 25 million, I would advise that you still register for VAT so that your customers will not disqualify you from projects on the basis that you do not have a registered, you have not been registered for VAT. However, having said that, you are not liable to pay tax. So it is your choice, but it is advisable that you still do the registration. Now, we have talked a lot about limited liability companies, about registered business names. I will now want to specifically talk about companies' income taxes, because I believe that is what affects most SMEs. Many SMEs are actually already registered as limited liability companies. So I just want to look at this in a little more detail. Now, we have what is called the Companies Income Tax Act. And this act, requirements of Section 40 and Section 44 of this act says that registered companies must file the following with the FIRS every year. You have to do it every year, because if you do not do it every year, there are penalties and liabilities that are attached to it for you not filing your annual return. So every year while you are filing your returns, you must file a copy of your annual financial statement. I know all of us are conversant with it. We always have audited accounts every year. So your annual financial statement, that is what is going to be used to do your tax computation by your tax consultants or whoever it is that is doing the tax computation for you. And based on these financial statements, you have to now file your related tax computation. Also, a declaration by the directors, the principal officers of the company, that the tax has been completed and it is true and correct. Just like you have your audited financial statements where auditors will say that these accounts represent the true and fair position of the company, blah, 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 and they sign. Now, it is also a requirement by the FIRS that your tax consultant too must do the same, giving a statement that he has checked your tax computations and it is a fair and correct statement of your tax affairs. And also they have to put their seal and stamp. Now, that is the new rule. So just like auditors, tax accountants too, or tax consultants too, now have to put their seal on your tax computation before you file with the FIRS. Now, the tax year with which the assessment, which you assessed, is from January to December of every year. So it is advisable also to have your annual tax return, your annual account to be from January to December of every year. This is taxation of limited liability companies that operate within Nigeria and its tax is on taxable profit. Yes, I've said this before, limited liability companies are taxable on their taxable profit. As you may know, a limited liability company has advantages over a business name. We have already highlighted some of the advantages. And the administration of this company income tax is vested in the Federal Inland Revenue Service. Please remember that if you are filing for your tax identification number, it should be at the FIRS office that is closest to your location. That is where your office or your business address is located.